Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hour 2 of At Home with APS. I'm Miss Jacobson, and we have a very special guest here today for our ELD and SLA section. This is Dr. Madeline Cerna Marmol, and she's my boss. And so we wanted to have her here to read to us today. And welcome. Glad you could join us.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm excited to read this book. It's one of my favorite books, and I love books. So when Ms. Jacobson was showing her collections, I immediately thought about my collection of books. So love to read, have read many, many books, and hope you enjoy this story today.
Yeah, and we were on Friday afternoon with the 4th and 5th graders, and then again yesterday morning, we were talking about superheroes. And so you've picked a book about a superhero of mine. But before we get to the book, tell us a little bit about your job and your work with APS and what you do.
So I'm an associate superintendent, and I work with equity, instruction, innovation, and support. So I have many different departments under me, all working to buy books and early childhood and many of the special programs that we have that support our students. A lot of curriculum and instruction work. And then, of course, equity touches everything that we do here at APS. So all of those things I'm privileged to work with and support all of you, and so glad that we could do this for you.
Well, we're glad that you're here today. So tell us about the book that you have chosen about my superhero.
So if I had to say a traditional superhero of mine would be Wonder Woman, of course. Everybody who works with me knows that I love Wonder Woman.
She does.
And I love the old television show from the 70s. But one of my superheroes as well is Sonia Sotomayor, and she's justice with the Supreme Court. And she is just a wonderful role model for many women and a lot of Hispanic women. She has written a book that I am going to read to you in Spanish. You can also get the book in English. It's just fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, and on another day, we're going to go ahead and read this book in English to you, so you'll get to hear it in both languages, and you can watch it on the APS YouTube channel so that you can get them both side by side, because we'll have those recorded and posted there. So I'm going to leave you with your book. I hope you have a good time. We'll see you later. Please stay with us for Solo Pregunta.
Mil gracias todos. Estoy muy excitada hoy para leer este libro. Es escrito por Sonia Sotomayor. El libro se llama Solo Pregunta. Es ilustrado por Rafael López. Y el publicador es Philomel Books. Parece así. Solo pregunta.
I knew the signs, so I knew you.
Sé diferente, sé valiente, sé tú. Hola, me llamo Sonia. Mis amigos y yo estamos sembrando un jardín. Los jardines son lugares mágicos. Miles de plantas florecen a la vez, pero cada flor, cada hoja, cada fruto es diferente. Cada uno tiene diferente olor, diferente color, diferentes formas y diferentes propósitos. Algunas flores necesitan mucha luz del sol, otras crecen mejor a la sombra. Algunas tienen que ser podadas regularmente, mientras que otras es mejor no tocarlas. Algunos árboles y flores son muy delicados y otros son más resistentes. Igual sucede con los niños. No todos son iguales. Algunos de nosotros siempre estamos apurados. Otros van con más calma. Algunos somos tímidos y callados, mientras que otros son alborotosos y habladores. Algunos de nuestras diferentes diferencias son notables, otros lo son menos. Cada uno de nosotros crece a su propia manera, pero si sientes curiosidad acerca de otros niños, solo pregunta. No todo el mundo se siente bien contestando preguntas acerca de ellos mismos, pero a mí no me molesta. ¿Qué hago? Varias veces al día me pincho el dedo para medir el azúcar en mi sangre e inyectarme yo misma un medicamento llamado insulina. Hago esto porque tengo diabetes y mi cuerpo no produce suficiente insulina. De forma natural como el de otras personas. Aunque a veces es doloroso, encuentro el valor para hacerlo y poder mantenerme sana. ¿Necesitas de algún medicamento para mantenerte sano? Sí, me llamo Rafael. Mi hijo también se llama Rafael. Y tengo asma, lo que significa que en ocasiones tengo dificultad para respirar. Cuando esto sucede, trato de calmarme y uso un inhalador que contiene una medicina que me permite respirar mejor. Mantenerme sereno me ayuda a tranquilizarme y recobrar el aliento. El inhalador es como una herramienta que ayuda a mi cuerpo. ¿Utilizas alguna herramienta para ayudar a tu cuerpo? Me llamo Anthony y utilizo una silla de ruedas para moverme. A pesar de que no puedo correr, con mis piernas sí puedo moverme con rapidez. ¿Cómo vas de un lugar a otro? Me llamo Madison y Lucky, mi perro guía, me ayuda a ir de un lugar a otro con seguridad porque soy ciega. Arturo, mi amigo, también es ciego. Él usa un bastón para guiarse. Aunque no podemos ver, percibimos muchos detalles que pueden pasar desapercibidos a los demás. Podemos ir con los oídos, oler con la nariz y tocar con las manos. ¿Cómo utilizas tus sentidos? Mi nombre es VJ. Capto el mundo de diferente manera porque puedo ver, pero no puedo oír. Soy sorda. Me comunica con las personas por medio de gestos y con las manos, a través del lenguaje de señas, como nuestros intérpretes que comenzaron cuando comenzamos a leer. Es genial conocer otros lenguajes. También me gusta leer y escribir. ¿Y a ti? Soy Bianca y tengo dislexia, lo que significa que tengo que esforzarme mucho y me toma tiempo leer y escribir. A veces utilizo programas de computadora que me ayudan. Me gusta hacer cosas nuevas y así aprender. Tengo una gran imaginación, muchas ideas y soy muy buena interpretando artísticamente las imágenes que me vienen a la mente. ¿Y tú? ¿Te destacas en algo? Soy un experto en dinosaurios. Sé todo sobre ellos. Me llamo Jordan y tengo autismo. Contar y organizar una y otra vez mis dinosaurios de juguete me tranquiliza. Mi compañera de clase, Tiana, también tiene autismo, pero en ella se manifiesta de manera diferente. Ella no habla, pero a mí me encanta hablar, sobre todo acerca de dinosaurios. ¿Y a ti? ¿De qué te gusta hablar? Para mí es más fácil escuchar que hablar. En realidad me gusta escuchar y prestar atención. Mi nombre es Ann y tartamudeo y al hablar a veces repito la misma palabra o me trabo al tratar de decirla. Puede que me tome más tiempo expresarme y en ocasiones no me atrevo a hablar, pero entiendo todo lo que pasa a mi alrededor. ¿Alguna vez te has preguntado si la gente te entiende? Sí, me llamo Julia. De repente hago movimientos repetidos o sonidos que no puedo controlar, porque padezco del síndrome de Tourette. La gente me mira de manera rara porque piensa que no sé comportarme o que no presto atención, pero no es cierto, yo siempre estoy atenta. No siempre me gusta hablar de lo que no me ocurre, me frustro. Pero me siento mejor cuando les explico a los demás que eso simplemente lo hace mi cuerpo y que no tengo control sobre ello. ¿Te has sentido frustrado alguna vez? Me llamo Manuel y padezco un trastorno de déficit de atención e hiperactividad, también conocido como TDAH. A veces me frustro si siento la necesidad de moverme cuando en realidad debo permanecer quieto. Cuando mis maestros y amigos me comprenden y son pacientes conmigo, si se me olvida algo o me distraigo, entonces logro volver a concentrarme. ¿Qué es lo que te ayuda a ti? Mi nombre es Nolan. A mí me ayuda que los productos alimenticios señalan bien que no contienen cacahuates o maní, nueces, porque soy alérgico a ambos. Si accidentalmente comiera algo que contuviera nueces, me podría hacer daño y tendría que ir al hospital. Pero eso siempre aviso a todo el mundo de que tengo esta alergia. Y nunca me olvido de preguntar si la comida contiene nueces o cacahuates o maní. Expresarme me asegura mantenerme sano. ¿Cómo usas tu voz? Me encanta cantar y me gusta hablar. También me encanta hacer amigos. Mi nombre es Grace y nací con síndrome de Down. Eso significa que yo, al igual que otros niños que nacen con síndrome de Down, tengo un elemento extra en el cuerpo llamado cromosoma. Pero puedo hacer casi todo lo que hacen otros niños, aunque me toma más tiempo aprender cosas nuevas. Una manera de aprender para mí es hacer preguntas. ¿Qué haces tú para aprender? Soy yo, Sonia, otra vez. Yo también hago preguntas cuando algo me parece diferente o desconocido. Les pregunto a mis padres o a mis maestros y ellos me ayudan a entenderlo. Esto es lo que he aprendido. Imagina que todas las plantas en nuestro jardín fueran exactamente iguales. ¿Qué pasaría si solo pudiéramos cultivar guisantes? Eso significaría que no habría fresas, pepinos o zanahorias. Tampoco tendríamos árboles rosas o girasoles. Al igual que ocurre en nuestro jardín, el hecho de que todos seamos diferentes hace que nuestra comunidad y el mundo entero sea más interesante y divertido. Y al igual que todas estas plantas, cada uno de nosotros tiene poderes únicos para compartir con el mundo y de esa manera hacerlo un lugar más interesante y enriquecedor. ¿Cómo utilizarás tus poderes? Pues hemos llegado al fin de este libro, Solo Pregunta. Ojalá que han divertido y han aprendido mucho. We've come to the end of our book. We're so happy that you were able to join us today for Solo Pregunta. I hope that you learned something and that you enjoyed this journey through many different children. And you learned about differences, what makes us different, what makes us unique. Thank you so much. Mil gracias por escuchar.
Hi, students. My name is Miss Rachel, and I'm here for a poetry lesson. I was thinking a lot about Poetry Month and Poetry Day, and how so many of you have celebrations at your schools for Poetry Month. Can you think back to last year what your school did? I know at Alvarado, where I used to teach, we always had a Poem in Your Pocket Day. And it's so fun to share poems that you've written with other people. So I'm here to write a poem with you today. And if you write along with me, we'd love to see what you wrote. You can share it with us at Instagram or Twitter or Facebook with the help of a grown-up. And I'd love to read some of the poems that you wrote. We're going to talk today about limericks. Limericks are a type of funny rhyming poems. And there's some rules with these poems, but I always think one of the fun parts about poems is that you can break the rules a little bit from when we normally write. So I'll teach you the structure of limericks today, but you can take it and make it your own if you'd like. So I'm going to start and read a limerick to you so we can identify the rhyming pattern and the syllable structure of this poem. Now, I've got this poem from Scholastic, and it was written by Amy Mascott. So I'm going to read this poem to you, and I want you to listen for some of the rhyming words. And I know often in poems, rhyming words come at the end of the line. So as I read, make sure you listen at the last word at the end of the line. There once was a woman named Nanny, whose height was quite uncanny. Small as she was, she made quite a buzz, and often fell flat on her fanny. Oh no, poor Nanny. So, did you hear some rhyming words in there? Let's think about the last word of this first line here, nanny. And then right below that, I see a word that has some of the same letters. Uncanny. Uncanny and nanny rhyme. I I thought we could use some sticky notes to mark where the rhyming words are. And so far, I noticed that those first two words rhyme. So I'm going to mark them with the same color. Now let's look at the next lines. Small as she was, she made quite a buzz. Buzz and was are rhyming words. But does was and buzz rhyme with nanny and uncanny? No, that's a different set of rhyming words. So let's use another color. I'm going to use green and mark those as a rhyming pair. So now I can see we've got a pattern here already. Blue, blue, green, green. Let's look at the last line and see if that follows one of our patterns. And often fell flat on her fanny. Does fanny rhyme with buzz or does fanny rhyme with nanny? Fanny and nanny rhyme. So I'm going to put a blue sticky note by that last word. And let's look at the pattern here again. Blue, blue, green, green, blue. That is the typical rhyming structure in a limerick. Now, one other thing I notice is that our lines with blue sticky notes are longer than our lines with the green sticky notes. That has to do with the syllable structure of a limerick. Our longer lines have 8 syllables, and our shorter lines have 5. So let's double check and make sure that they followed the rhyming pattern. There once was a woman named Nanny. I counted 9 syllables there, but like I said, it's okay to break the rules a little bit in poetry. So I can tell they tried to stay close. And then let's check one of the lines here with a green sticky. It should have 5 syllables, but let's check. Small as she was. Small as she was. That one only had 4 syllables. So again, they were off by 1, but that's okay. When you write your own limerick, it's okay to be off a little bit. It's just a general guideline for the structure. So I thought we could write our own limerick today and that you could share it with somebody in your family. So I made this template here that we will share on our APS website, and you can also find it on social media if you don't have time to copy it down. But I really just have a sentence starter. There once was a, and then the second line will start with who. And you can fill in the blanks. Now I'm going to write on a bigger chart here so that you can see at home. And you'll notice, because my chart paper is nice and big but narrow, that my lines are going to take up 2 spaces, 2 lines when I write. Now when I was thinking about my poem at home, I thought that I should write about something in my house so that I could look at it and maybe touch it and feel it to help describe it as I wrote. So one of my favorite things in my house, I wish I could have brought it with me, is my dog. And my dog's name is Izzy. So I'm going to have that be the base of my poem, and I'm going to build my rhyming words around Izzy so that I can come up with the rest of my poem. So I was thinking about that first line. There once was a, make sure my chart doesn't fall. There once was a, and my dog is a dog, so I should write, there once was a dog named Izzy. And then I'll go back and check the syllables. There once was a dog named Izzy. And you'll notice I capitalized my dog's name because that's her name, and that's important. Let me get a piece of tape for my chart first. And one thing I forgot to mention, friends, when you're writing at home, it's okay to spell things wrong. Just to get your ideas down on paper, and then you can always go back and edit later, okay? So don't be afraid to make a spelling mistake. Now, I know that the end of my next line needs to rhyme with Izzy. So I thought I would think about that rhyming word first, and then build my sentence around that. So I was thinking about my dog specifically, and she loves to play, like most dogs do. And sometimes when she's playing with her ball, she'll spin around in circles until she gets dizzy. So sometimes we even call her Dizzy Izzy. And I know that those are rhyming words. So I've got my first sentence here. There once was a dog named Izzy, and then I thought I could write about her getting dizzy, who played ball till she got dizzy, because that's what my dog does at home. Who played ball till she got dizzy. Okay? And just like with the poem that we read, I'm going to mark those rhyming words with blue sticky notes to show my pattern. To show that I followed our rhyming pattern. Now, I've got 3 more lines to write, and I know that my next 2 lines need to rhyme at the end. So again, I was thinking about my dog. She gets dizzy, and she also, just like other dogs, likes to play with toys. So I'm going to use toy as my next word and try to think about a word that rhymes with toy. Can you help me come up with a word? I thought about the word joy, because when my dog plays with toys, she's full of so much joy. So I'm going to write my next line and end with the word toy. I thought I could write, she'd play with the toy. I think I'm going to write over here so you can see a little bit better. She'd play with the toy. Okay, and then I already decided on my next rhyming word that it needs to be joy. So she'd play with the toy. Oh, she jumps around a lot when she gets excited. So I think I'm going to write jumping to have joy. Jumping to have joy. So just like with our last set of rhyming words, I'm going to mark those with our green sticky notes to show that those words rhyme. Toy, enjoy. Okay, we've got one more line to go. And my ending word here needs to rhyme with Izzy and dizzy. Can you think of another word that rhymes with those? I thought about the word busy. It has the same ending sound, but the spelling is going to be a little bit different. So my dog at home, after she's been running around, playing with her ball and her toy, sometimes she needs a nap. But then she gets up and she gets busy again. So that's what my last line is going to be about. After a nap, she gets busy. Okay, and I'm going to put a blue sticky note by that to show that it rhymes with my first two lines. Now, you might notice with my poem that it got a little bit messy and it didn't quite fit. That's why I made you a template so that if you're practicing your poem, you can transfer it onto this paper when you're ready to share it. I just wanted to walk you through the process today of coming up with ideas for your limerick and the basic structure. Now, the last thing that we forgot to do was to check my syllables. And what I did when I wrote my poem is I wrote numbers above the words to help me keep track of the syllables. And remember, you can also clap to help you hear the syllables in a word. So in the word there, I only hear one syllable, and I'm going to write the number 1. Once, I have one syllable, so I'm going to count up, because now I have 2 syllables in that sentence. There once was has a syllable. Is a syllable on its own. I'm at 4 syllables in my sentence. Dog, 1 syllable. Named has a syllable, and then my dog's name, Izzy, has 2 syllables. So I'm going to write 7 and 8. And you might remember from when we talked about the structure, the first line should have 8 syllables. So I hope you give this a try at home, and like I said, if you write a poem, please share it with us. Miss Abby will be coming up next to talk a little bit about some other types of poems. I'll see you again soon.
Hi there, learners. This is Miss Abby. I'm here today to talk about poetry. April is Poetry Month. All April, you may have heard small bits of poetry. There's different ways to celebrate Poetry Month. One way actually happens tomorrow. On April 30th, it's National Poem in Your Pocket Day. A poem in your pocket. It's a whole day to surprise and celebrate poetry by keeping a poem in your pocket. Now, long poems can fit in your pocket. Short poems can fit in your pocket. All different types of poems. Earlier, Miss Rachel talked about how to make a limerick. If you wanted to fold up your limerick and put it in your pocket, you have a poem for Poem in Your Pocket Day. I have put together some of my favorite short poems that you can find on our aps.edu website. You can cut them up and put them in your pocket. I have a few to share. It's small. This first poem is by Shel Silverstein. It's called Listen to the Mustn'ts. When I read a poem, I want to read it slowly. The words that you put in a poem are really important. If I read too fast, you might not hear the beauty of the words. So my first poem is Listen to the Mustn'ts by Shel Silverstein. Listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossible, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves. Then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. anything can be. What a great poem. I feel like as children, so many times, you shouldn't do that. You mustn't do that. You can't do that. But Shel Silverstein gives us a little secret. Anything can be, child. What a great poem to keep in your pocket. I have another. This is about the teeth of sharks. Think about what you know about the teeth of sharks. I've seen people wear shark tooth necklaces before, but that's about as close as I've come to the teeth of sharks. This is written by John Ciardi. This is an interesting poem because I'm curious who is telling the poem. Whose perspective is it? About the Teeth of Sharks by John Ciardi. The thing about a shark is teeth. One row above and one row beneath. Now take a close look. Do you find it has another row behind? Still closer, here, I'll hold your hat. Has it a third row behind that? Now look in and look out. Oh my, now I'll never know. Well, goodbye. Who is telling this poem? This person will never know more about sharks' teeth because they were influencing someone else to go deeper into the shark's mouth. John Ciardi, what an interesting poem. Poems do have rhyming words, but poems also have interesting ideas. When you hold poems in your pockets, you may have your opinion about what a poem is about, but you can also start a conversation. When you read a poem to someone, either in front of them, on a Zoom or a Google Meet, or even over a FaceTime or some sort of call, ask the person, say, what do you think this poem means? Or how does this poem make you feel? That's the happiness that poetry brings. Yes, poems can be sad. Poems can be sweet. Poems can be silly. That shark's teeth, I think that was a little silly. Poems can also inspire. Like Shel Silverstein, he's always trying to inspire. Here's another one, and it's by Shel Silverstein again. It's called Snowball. Think about a snowball. What do you know about snowballs? Snowball by Shel Silverstein. I made myself a snowball as perfect as can be. I thought I'd keep it as a pet and let it sleep with me. I made it some pajamas and a pillow for its head. Then last night it ran away, but first it wet the bed. Can a snowball wet the bed? I think what wet the bed was just the snowball melted. But I like the idea, the silly idea, that the snowball pet ran away and first wet the bed. That's silly. I love poetry. What poem might you keep in your pocket? I love these because I have lots of pockets. I have another. It's called Valentine. Oh, have you had a Valentine before? Someone that you think is special? This is called Valentine by Donald Hall. Chipmunks jump and green snakes slither. Rather burst than not be with her. Bluebirds fight, but bears are stronger. We've got 50 years or longer. Hop toads hop, but hogs are fatter. Nothing else but us can matter. How romantic. Let's see, I have more pockets with more poems. Oh, this is called Growing. Growing by Mary Ann Haberman. The grown-ups say I'm growing tall and that my clothes are growing small. Can clothes grow small? I always think that things grow big or else they shrink. But did they shrink or did I grow or did we both change? I don't know. Sometimes they just make your brain tickle a little bit. If you have a favorite poem, write it down. Put it in your pocket. Oh, I have another. This is not exactly a short poem, so if I wanted, I could just put a part of it in my pocket. That's okay too. This is called Wind on the Hill by A. Milne. That's the same author of Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is a famous story, but the author also writes poems. So if you like to write stories, you can also be a poet. Wind on the Hill. No one can tell me, nobody knows where the wind comes from, where the wind goes. It's flying from somewhere as fast as it can. I couldn't keep up with it, not if I ran. But if I stopped holding the string of my kite, it would blow with the wind for a day and a night. And then when I found it, wherever it blew, I should know that the wind had been going there too. So then I could tell them where the wind goes, but where the wind comes from, nobody knows. Have you ever thought about the wind? Where does it come from? Where does it go? Poems bring out your creativity, your creative thought. There's lots of different advantages to reading poems and talking about poetry. I shared some poems that I had in my pockets. But what if you're not wearing clothes with pockets? What can you do? Don't worry, I have a craft. Over here, you may recognize these. These are toilet paper rolls. Now that you're home and quarantined, you probably have some of these lying around. Well, yes, I'm a teacher, so I like to reuse things. And I just think these are such helpful, creative things to make with that I always take off every little bit of paper and I save them for further crafts. Today, we're going to make a pocket. For today's activity, you will need at least one roll, a pair of scissors, some tape, and some string or ribbon. If you have some left over from a package or a present, you can reuse that. Or if you have some laying around. This is my favorite. It's called chartreuse green. What a beautiful green, huh? So starting with our toilet paper tube, the first thing I'm going to do is fold it in half. It makes a nice little crunching sound. It's no longer a tube. Now, at one end, I want to secure it closed. A pocket with a hole in it is a problem. So I'm going to use my tape to close the bottom of my pocket. I may need a few pieces of tape. That's okay. If I have extra left over, I can cut it off. I just want to make sure my pocket is secure. I don't want my poems to fall out. All right. So I had a tube, and now I have a basic pocket. I want to add a little bit of pizzazz, so I'm going to take my scissors, and with my pocket closed, I'm going to cut a zigzag. Cut, cut, and you may need some help with cutting. It's up to you. Cut. Now I've created a little design to my top. Now, pockets are usually sewn onto clothing, and since we're not sewing today, I am also going to add some string for a strap. I like to design, and you can design where your string will go around your waist, around your shoulder, over your neck. It's up to you. But just on the back of my pocket, I'm going to take 2 pieces of tape, and I'm going to secure down my strap. 1, and on the other side, 2. Today, I have lots of pockets, but if you don't, now you have a way to wear your pocket. Remember what tomorrow is, April 30th, National Poem in Your Pocket Day. We need some poems. Remember, on our website, I've printed up the ones I just read for you, in case any of them you wanted to reread, read aloud, read to yourself, so you can put them in your pocket. So I would like to write a quick message on my pocket. It's just a way to invite others to listen. Are you thinking about who you will read a poem to? Maybe a family member or a friend? I've heard cats love listening to poetry. Actually, no, dogs love listening to poetry. They'll just sit and listen. Sometimes cats walk away. So I'm going to write a message on my pocket, but I'll write it larger for you here. On top, I'll say, a pocket for my poems. I'm going to put more than one in there, so I said poems. A pocket for my poems. Inside are quite a few. A pocket for my poems. Inside are quite a few. Now I want to invite others. Will you stay and listen to... I ended this line with few. Can you think of a number that rhymes with few? 2, you're right. Will you stay and listen to 2? I need a few more words in there. A pocket for my poems, inside are quite a few. Will you stay and listen to maybe 1 or 2? That works. to maybe 1 or 2. When you read this to someone, then you know if they're ready to listen. Then you can start selecting poems. Say, all right, hold on to your horses. I've got one for you. When you read it to them, make sure you read slowly so they can hear all the words. I practiced at home before I read this to you. I wanted to make sure I knew how to say everything and how to pace all of my lines. That's what we do. We practice poetry so it sounds like a song. Then, when we're done reading aloud, we put them back in our pocket. I can put this pocket in my pocket, or if you have a strap, make sure you show it there. This book is one of my favorites. Have you seen this book before? This is called Where the Sidewalk Ends. It is written and illustrated both by Shel Silverstein. I don't know if you've read this at home or in school. I've read this book everywhere. Shel Silverstein, he's a wonderful poet filled with lots of different stories that will inspire, engage, even make you just laugh. One of his poems is called Treehouse. This is just an excerpt. An excerpt is a part of a poem. A treehouse, a free house, a secret you and me house, a high up in the leafy branches, cozy as can be house. Do you see a word repeating? That's right. He said house. How many times? House, 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 and it's even in the title. He's talking about a tree house. I don't have a tree house. I wish I did. Do you have a place that you might go with a friend that might be a secret you and me house? You can even write a poem about the house that you live in. Do you live in a tree house? No. I live in a sweet house, a kind house, a invite you over for dinner house. I like to invite people over for dinner. A next to the Sandia Mountains house, cozy as can be house. You can take poems written by famous poets and reword them so that they're written by you. You are the poet. Today we talked about Poem in Your Pocket Day. Remember, it's tomorrow, April 30th. I hope you find something with lots of pockets or make a pocket of your very own. Please celebrate National Poetry Month with Poem in Your Pocket Day. Thank you so much for participating. If you would like to share anything with us, we'd love to see it. Thank you again for joining us at home with APS. Have a wonderful day.